During World War II is raging, cities are burning, soldiers are fighting across continents. Now, suddenly, an alien spacecraft descends from the skies. Not a weapon, not an ally, but a completely new species. What would Adolf Hitler think? Confronted with beings not even from Earth, his reaction might surprise you. Before we explore this chilling scenario, take a moment to subscribe and stay connected. Our channel dives deep into history's darkest questions with clarity and compassion. By subscribing, you help keep knowledge alive, presented in a way that's respectful and easy to understand. Let's journey together into this extraordinary what-if. World War II was one of the most destructive and consequential events in human history. By the early 1940s, Adolf Hitler had reshaped Germany into a highly militarized, ideologically charged nation. The Nazi Party's belief system revolved around racial purity, authoritarian control, and expansion through conquest. The war itself had consumed Europe. By 1940, much of Western Europe had fallen under Nazi control. By 1941, Hitler had launched Operation Barbarossa, the largest military invasion in history, against the Soviet Union. The scale of destruction was unparalleled, with millions of soldiers and civilians caught in the storm of conflict. Against this backdrop of devastation, imagine the sudden appearance of an alien spacecraft. The world had barely begun to grasp the possibilities of rocketry and advanced aviation. Jet engines were in their infancy. Radar was a relatively new invention. In such a world, the sudden arrival of extraterrestrial beings would have been more than a shock. It would have seemed like a visitation from gods or demons. For Hitler personally, such an event would not have been just scientific. It would have been deeply ideological. He filtered all knowledge through the lens of his worldview, a mixture of nationalism, racism, occult interest, and a lust for power. The aliens' appearance would not be viewed as neutral. He would see them as either tools for his goals or threats to his ideology. It is also important to remember that Nazi Germany had a fascination with the mystical and the unknown. Elements within the SS studied ancient myths, symbols, and occult traditions, seeking to link their ideology to a deeper, almost cosmic destiny. To them, an alien visitation would not be merely scientific curiosity. It would be interpreted as destiny or danger. Thus, before asking what Hitler would think, we must recognize how limited the scientific understanding was, how charged the ideological environment was, and how dangerous Hitler's mindset had become. His interpretation of aliens would have been shaped not by curiosity, but by ideology. To understand Hitler's potential reaction, we must look at his ideology. Central to Nazi belief was the concept of racial hierarchy. Hitler believed that certain races were superior, chief among them what he termed the Aryan race. Others were considered inferior, even subhuman, and targeted for persecution or extermination. Now imagine aliens arriving, beings from another world. How would Hitler's racial ideology cope with the existence of intelligent life that was not even human? There are two possible directions his mind could have taken. If the aliens appeared more advanced, technologically superior, organized, and powerful, Hitler might have viewed them as a master race beyond even the Aryans. This could have shaken his worldview, or more dangerously, he might have attempted to align himself with them, portraying the Nazis as chosen partners in some cosmic struggle. His speeches often framed battles in grand, almost apocalyptic terms. To him, the aliens' presence could be interpreted as proof that destiny was guiding Germany. On the other hand, if the aliens appeared strange, non-human, and vulnerable, Hitler might have seen them as yet another group to dominate. His language frequently dehumanized his enemies. If he saw the aliens as weak, he could have attempted to enslave or exploit them, using their biology or technology for war. In both cases, Hitler's reaction would not have been open-minded. It would have been filtered through domination, control, and ideology. His sense of superiority was so entrenched that he would have either sought to use the aliens as tools or destroy them if they challenged his power. We should also remember Hitler's interest in pseudoscience. He often relied on distorted interpretations of genetics, archaeology, and history to justify his claims. If aliens appeared, he might have claimed them as proof of Nazi myths, perhaps saying they were ancient, Aryan gods returning, or that they validated Nazi occult beliefs. It is chilling, but clear. Hitler's view of aliens would not be based on wonder or respect. It would be shaped by manipulation, myth, and power. One of the driving forces of the Nazi war effort was the pursuit of advanced technology. Hitler often dreamed of wonder weapons that would turn the tide of war. From jet aircraft to V-2 rockets, Nazi scientists worked on innovations that seemed almost science-fictional for their time. If aliens arrived during this period, their technology would have been far beyond anything humanity possessed. To Hitler, this would have been irresistible. He would not have asked, "Who are these beings?" but instead, "What weapons do they have and how can we use them?" The Nazi leadership placed enormous emphasis on secret research programs. The SS was deeply involved in experimental science, from rocketry to medical experiments. If aliens appeared, it is highly likely they would have been captured, studied, and possibly tortured, all in the name of extracting knowledge. We can imagine hidden laboratories where alien devices were dismantled, alien physiology examined, all under the control of the SS. To Hitler, aliens would not be guests. They would be resources. His obsession with domination extended into every sphere, and extraterrestrials would have been no exception. This raises another chilling possibility. What if the aliens resisted? Nazi Germany was not known for compassion. If Hitler saw resistance, he would have treated the aliens as enemies of the Reich. In that case, the world might have witnessed a war not just between nations but between species. Hitler's psychology was marked by paranoia, grandiosity, and a constant hunger for validation. The sudden appearance of aliens could have either strengthened or destabilized his psyche. If the aliens seemed powerful, Hitler might have believed they confirmed his destiny as a world historical figure. He often saw himself in terms of fate and cosmic struggle. Aliens could have been woven into his narrative as proof that he was leading Germany into a new age of destiny. On the other hand, the presence of being superior to humans might have threatened his ideology. If aliens demonstrated intelligence and power greater than any human, where would that leave the Nazi belief in racial superiority? Such a contradiction could have driven Hitler to rage, denial, or even desperate attempts to prove dominance. Other Nazi leaders, such as Himmler and Goebbels, might have interpreted the aliens through their own frameworks. Himmler, obsessed with the occult, might have seen them as ancient gods returned. Goebbels, the propaganda minister, would likely have spun their presence into Nazi propaganda, perhaps claiming the aliens supported Germany, or that they had come to destroy the Allies. The psychological impact would thus be profound, not just for Hitler personally, but for the entire Nazi leadership. The aliens' presence would become a tool in the ongoing machinery of ideology and war. It is important not to focus only on Hitler. If aliens appeared during World War II, the Allies would also react. For Britain, the United States, and the Soviet Union, the presence of aliens would have been both a scientific marvel and a potential military concern. Would the Allies have attempted to ally with the aliens to balance against Nazi Germany, or would they have feared that Hitler might capture alien technology first? The Cold War later showed how quickly nations raced for nuclear and rocket technology. In 1942, 1943, or 1944, alien technology would have been the ultimate prize. This raises another layer of danger. The war might have expanded from human conflict into competition for alien support. Propaganda would have flourished on both sides. Each nation would try to claim that the aliens supported their cause. For ordinary civilians, however, the reaction might have been awe, fear, or hope. In a world filled with bombing raids and rationing, the sight of beings from the stars could have brought a strange sense of perspective. Perhaps for a moment humanity might have realized how small its conflicts were compared to the vastness of the universe. Ultimately, the question, what would Hitler think of aliens, is not just about history, it is about morality. Hitler's worldview was narrow, cruel, and obsessed with domination. Faced with aliens, he would not likely have sought peace or mutual understanding. He would have sought power. And that teaches us something important about human nature. We live in a universe that may one day present us with the reality of extraterrestrial life. When that day comes, how will we respond? With fear and domination, or with curiosity and compassion? By examining this dark hypothetical, we see the danger of rigid ideologies. Hitler could not see humanity as one family. He divided it into superior and inferior groups. Aliens would have only expanded that division. His failure to embrace shared humanity reminds us of the importance of openness. Perhaps the lesson is this: the true measure of humanity is not how we treat those like us, but how we treat those utterly unlike us. If we cannot accept diversity among ourselves, how will we ever accept beings from the stars? The image of Hitler meeting aliens may sound like science fiction, but it is a thought experiment that illuminates something real. It shows how destructive ideologies distort even the most extraordinary possibilities. Hitler's likely reaction, whether to enslave, exploit, or destroy, reflects the danger of power without compassion. It reminds us that the way we respond to the unknown defines who we are. If aliens ever arrive, we must hope humanity meets them not with Hitler's mindset, but with humility, kindness, and wisdom. Because in the end, history shows us what happens when leaders fail to see beyond their own narrow vision. And so, while the question is hypothetical, the lesson is real. Compassion is the only path forward.